Another lawsuit. A defrocked cardinal faces more allegations of sexual abuse. Pro-life court case. The new Texas law survives another attempt to block it. Stacking the Supreme Court. Justice Clarence Thomas warns against a political ploy. And Pope Emeritus. How young theologians are continuing the work of Benedict XVI. On EWTN News Nightly for Friday, September 17th, 2021. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. Some breaking news tonight. A drone strike launched last month by the United States against ISIS instead actually killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. In the days since the August 29th attack, Pentagon officials said that it had been conducted correctly. Today, they reversed that assessment. And we'll be following this story, and we'll have more as it becomes available. While the Biden administration faces a series of setbacks in Texas, a judge refused to block a new pro-life law, and thousands of migrants are overwhelming the Border Patrol, which was already stretched thin. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports.
On the U.S. southern border, people keep coming nonstop, a sprawling sea of humanity under a bridge. Thousands of migrants camped outside in Del Rio, Texas.
The Border Patrol is unfortunately strained to its limit, beyond limit now here in the Del Rio sector, and we just don't know who's crossing, and that leads to a whole other set of variables. Terror threats, safety threats.
Also out of Texas, the heartbeat law. This court document signed just hours ago reveals that a United States district judge has denied a government motion for, in legal terms, an expedited briefing schedule. Bottom line, the pro-life law saving babies' lives remains in place for now.
Good morning. Thank you.
As President Joe Biden talks climate with a small group of world leaders meeting virtually, the conflict gripping the Tigray region in Ethiopia continues. Months of fighting have left hundreds of thousands of people facing famine. Now, a new executive order allows the U.S. to sanction leaders and groups fueling the violence. USAID Administrator Samantha Power writing, the conflict in northern Ethiopia has sparked one of the worst humanitarian and human rights crises in the world, with over 5 million people requiring humanitarian assistance and up to 900,000 living in famine conditions. Going on to say, I have personally met with Ethiopian refugees from Tigray, many of them women, who shared heart-wrenching experiences of armed actors committing murder, rape, and other gruesome acts of sexual and gender-based violence. And in the battle against the coronavirus pandemic, the White House COVID-19 response team says it will be ready if government health experts decide to approve booster shots.
It's really important that people get their first and second shot, while at the same time, based on the recommendations of FDA and CDC, will obviously make it easy and convenient for people to get a boost as recommended.
Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Earlier this week, a report emerged that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff made a call to one of China's military leaders regarding then-President Donald Trump. General Mark Milley told the Chinese military that he would warn them if the president tried to launch a strike. Today, he defended his actions, saying the calls were within his duties and responsibilities. Former President Trump has called Milley the favorite general of Beijing and the Taliban, and many Republicans are accusing the general of treason. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Jon Schweppe, Director of Policy and Government Affairs at the American Principles Project. John, welcome back. Great to see you. First off, I'd like to get your take on General Milley's comments and the situation overall.
Well, he actually referred to it as a perfect phone call, which you might remember a certain former president got impeached over a perfect phone call. But this is much more serious. I mean, we're talking about a foreign power, frankly, an enemy of the United States, and him colluding with them. So, I think a lot of Republicans are calling for his head over this. You're going to see this scandal continue to develop. But, the thing is, for all these people who have served and who are currently serving, to see this coming from military leadership is really disappointing and dismaying.
Yeah, John, another thing I want to talk about, we mentioned this earlier, breaking this afternoon, the Pentagon announced that drone strike that it conducted in August mistakenly killed 10 civilians, including 7 children rather than ISIS-K members that the military was originally, of course, targeting. I want to get your thoughts on this tragic development.
Yeah, it's stunning. I mean, this level of incompetence, we're not used to seeing this from our military. I think this is, the military is widely respected in this country, but, we saw it with the withdrawal from Afghanistan, leaving Americans behind, and now we're seeing it again. There needs to be an investigation. There needs to be accountability here. And, this is the kind of consistent thing we've been seeing now under this administration specifically, but there seems to be no accountability whatsoever. And, we're talking about 7 children, 10 civilians here, truly awful. And, we need to know who knew what when.
Yeah, and on a different note, the Pentagon also announced today that the D.C. National Guard has been deployed as a precaution for tomorrow's Justice for J6 rally. That's in support for those currently being held in jail for charges related to the January 6th insurrection. That said, John, what more do we know about those people and their situation? Many of them still sitting in jail.
Well, Julie Kelly with American Greatness has done some great reporting on this. We really need to make sure that these people are having their rights respected, their constitutional rights, and that they're getting a speedy trial. And right now, that doesn't appear to be happening. And so, we hope, obviously, with the rally tomorrow, it's always a little bit scary with something like this. We want to make sure it's peaceful and all of that. But, it is important, and I do hope that, at least some media coverage of this highlights the plight of some of these people who are in jail, many of whom didn't even enter the Capitol.
Yeah, and John, we have probably about a minute or so left, but I want to get to this, something a lot of people are talking about today as well. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Mexican drug cartels had actually been using Facebook to recruit hitmen, among other things. And of course, there was that other report this week that Facebook knew that its Instagram platform was actually toxic for teen girls. I want to get your take on that as well. And also, what, if anything, should be done to kind of reel in social media companies?
Well, part of the problem here is that the U.S. government has granted Facebook an immunity from civil liability. So if the DOJ doesn't take care of this, if law enforcement doesn't handle it, there's no right for the victims to sue Facebook for their part in this. So, I think this definitely, we hope that law enforcement continues to review this and takes action. But, really, we need victims to be able to have the ability to hold Facebook accountable for their part in this type of thing.
Well, John, always appreciate your analysis and coming on. Jon Schweppe, Director of Policy and Government Affairs at the American Principles Project. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Our former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick is facing more legal trouble following another round of allegations of sexual abuse. A lawsuit filed yesterday in New Jersey alleges McCarrick abused a young man during the 1980s. At the time, McCarrick was the bishop of the Diocese of McCutcheon. A lawyer representing McCarrick declined to comment. Earlier this month, the 91-year-old was in court regarding another abuse case in Massachusetts in which he pleaded not guilty. We will continue to follow this story and, of course, bring you more information as it becomes available. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas says an increasing number of judges are veering into the roles reserved for legislators and politicians.
When we do that and we begin to venture into political, the legislative or executive branch lanes and resolving things that are better left to those branches, those of us particularly.
In remarks last night at the University of Notre Dame, Justice Thomas says that it is not the role of any court to make policy or base decisions on personal feelings or religious beliefs. Justice Thomas, who is a Catholic, also warned against expanding the Supreme Court, calling it a political ploy, adding it is not good to manipulate institutions, quote, when we don't get the outcomes that we like. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she plans to fight a lawsuit from Christian healthcare workers over the state's coronavirus vaccine mandate. The group is suing because the mandate does not offer a religious exemption. Earlier this week, a federal judge said healthcare workers must be vaccinated by September 27th, but did allow for religious exemptions. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison hits out at China. He rejects Beijing's criticism of the nuclear submarine alliance with the United States announced earlier this week.
We're just doing what we need to do to keep Australians safe and protect our national interests. I mean, China do the same thing. They have massive investments in their military capabilities, including in this area, and Australia doesn't raise issues around that.
The Prime Minister also said that he did not mind that it appeared that President Biden forgot his name during the announcement, instead calling him pal and that fellow down under. Beijing says the agreement among the U.S., Australia and Great Britain is, quote, highly irresponsible. Two parliamentary ministers in the Netherlands have resigned in the past 2 days over the evacuation from Afghanistan. The foreign minister and the defense minister each stepped down after Parliament passed motions of censure against them over the government's handling of the evacuations. Pope Francis says aging is a privilege. In a letter to elderly priests from northern Italy, the Holy Father noted that growing older gives us the chance to suffer the way Christ did. And he added that biblical figures Simeon and Anna were in their old age when our Lord and the gospel entered their lives. Tomorrow at the Vatican is a meeting of former theology students of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. The group has met at the end of each summer since 2008. They are committed to researching the work of Pope Benedict and furthering his theological approach. Joining us now from Rome is Martin Rothweiler, director of EWTN Germany. Martin, great to be with you. What more can you tell us about the symposium in Rome?
Yeah, sure. This is the third time that the so-called Neuer Schülerkreis, Josef Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI, will hold a public symposium in Rome at the end of the annual meeting of the Neuer Schülerkreis and the traditional Schülerkreis. This year's topic of the public symposium is the so-called soteriology, the doctrine of man's redemption through Jesus Christ. Why is man in need of redemption? What does man need to be redeemed from? Among the speakers will be Cardinal Kurt Koch, President of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity, and Archbishop Georg Genswein, Prefect of the Papal Household and Personal Secretary to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. That God has become man in Jesus Christ to redeem us, above all, from sin, from our separation from God to have eternal life, seems to be very often neglected in the preaching and teaching of the Church in Germany. The low confession practice in Germany is an expression and result of this. So this symposium intends to put a focus on this topic to rediscover the center of the good news, why God became man in Jesus Christ out of an infinite love, because he wants each and every one of us to live in unity with him and to be happy forever. It is the second time, by the way, that EWTN Germany is broadcasting this event live.
And I want to switch gears here slightly. Earlier this week, the Holy Father decided not to accept the resignation offered by the Archbishop of Hamburg. What more can you tell us about that?
The Pope's decision not to accept the resignation of Archbishop Stefan Hesse, Archbishop of Hamburg and former Vicar General of the Archdiocese of Cologne, has triggered different reactions. The chairman of the German Bishops' Conference, Bishop Georg Betzing, has welcomed the decision, while the Central Committee of German Catholics has criticized it. The independent expert report on abuse commissioned by the Archdiocese of Cologne had found breaches of duty in Bishop Stefan Hesse's handling of abuse cases during his tenure as Vicar General of Cologne. Pope Francis has remained true to his line with his decision, for he had also not accepted the resignation request of Cardinal Reinhard Marx, appealing to take the responsibility. However, after the apostolic visitation in Cologne, two auxiliary bishops who were also accused of breaches of duty are still waiting for a response from Rome.
And Martin, before I let you go, I know a lot of people are curious. What is the overall situation for the Church in Germany, and what events are you keeping your eye on?
Well, the synodal way and the topic of abuse continue to shape the discussion in the Catholic Church in Germany. Next week, the German Bishops' Conference will meet for its autumn plenary assembly in Fulda. Topics there, in addition to the further processing of the abuse crisis, are above all the synodal path in preparation of the Second Synodal Assembly to be held in Frankfurt from September the 13th to October 2nd, 2021, as well as the preparations for the World Synod of Bishops in Rome, which will begin in a worldwide process on October 9, 2021. It is remarkable that the Bishop of Regensburg, Rudolf Voderholzer, started an internet platform at the beginning of September on which alternative texts to the official proposals of the synodal forums are published. The intention is to make constructive contributions that are in harmony with the doctrinal tradition of the Church. A first document on the topic of power and separation of powers has already been published there. The authors of this document were dissatisfied with the content of the text discussed and adopted in their forum at the Synodal Path. They say it is important to develop reform proposals that could be derived from current dogmatics and canon law.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for being with us today. Martin Rothweiler, Director of EWTN Germany. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tracy.
Coming up, faith in politics. How one congressman puts his Catholic faith to work. From fighting for religious liberties in the Middle East to standing up for the unborn on pro-life issues, Catholic Congressman Jeff Fortenberry looks at his service as an extension of his faith. In tonight's Faith and Politics series, Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales sat down with a Nebraska representative to explore how he keeps his spiritual cup full.
Since 2005, Catholic Congressman Jeff Fortenberry has served the people of Nebraska. A former publisher, a highly educated man, he holds 2 master's degrees, one in public policy, the other in theology. And he puts those into practice each day on Capitol Hill.
Without being able to participate in reflective activity, having access to the Mass, being able to walk and reflect and pray the Rosary, I deeply depend upon it.
That reflection, he tells me, has led him to focus on helping Christians persecuted in the Middle East. He's had conversations with Muslim leaders who tell him Christianity must not disappear in the region.
The Christians have traditionally served as a bridge, a leavening influence, have provided services, particularly in education and medicine, for all peoples, and create, again, a bridge for the possibility of peace.
Congressman Fortenberry believes the Catholic faith requires us to speak out.
Part of our struggle in society is with the fragmentation of family life and faith life, and the church sitting passively by institutionally and just managing this decline. What other institutions are out there that are going to save us?
For politicians, taking a stand that promotes life and justice comes at a high cost.
You don't ask anyone to feel sorry for a member of Congress, but at the same time, the reality of being on a front line here in this fight against the forces of justice and nobility and artistry, against the forces of decay, degradation, and darkness is very real.
He tells me all Catholics must pass on the traditions of the Church to the younger generation, something he's learned from the foundress of EWTN.
I owe a huge amount of thanks to Mother Angelica and EWTN for providing that gift of my own formation. Indispensable.
Tradition he shares on Capitol Hill in friendship with fellow lawmakers. Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
A House Republican who voted once to impeach President Donald Trump says that he is not seeking re-election. Anthony Gonzalez from Ohio would have faced Max Miller, an aide in the Trump White House, with the former president's endorsement. The Ohio GOP censured Representative Gonzalez for his impeachment vote. Up next, a new point of pride for Bethlehem University. How Christians outside the Holy Land contributed. Finally tonight, a Catholic university in the Holy Land opened a new nursing building earlier this month. The $5 million building is state-of-the-art and is considered a beacon of hope for the region. The building is dedicated to the late Cardinal John Patrick Foley, who died in Philadelphia in 2011. The project was completely funded by Christians outside of the Holy Land. And earlier, I spoke with one of the officials from Bethlehem University who helped to raise money for that building. And joining me now is Brother Belayneh Medhanit, Vice President for Advancement at Bethlehem University. Brother Belayneh, thank you so much for your time today. What can you tell us about the new nursing building and how it came to be?
The mission of Bethlehem University in the Holy Land is clear. It is what Pope Paul VI envisioned in his visit to the Holy Land in 1964, which led the establishment of the university in 1973 by the Vatican and the De La Salle brothers jointly. So it is to provide quality education to the people of the Holy Land, especially here in Palestine, in Catholic and Lassallean educational tradition. That is the mission. So based on this, the Advancement Office, my office, together with many Christians around the world, including the USA, try to ensure bringing this quality of education to this land. Catholic University of Bethlehem University has done great things in the past 47 years. So this time, we were working on helping the students through scholarship, building facilities that improve quality education for the students.
And I understand the building is dedicated to His Eminence John Patrick Cardinal Foley. Can you tell us more about that and why the building was named in his honor?
Cardinal John Patrick Cardinal Foley was a good friend of Bethlehem University. The Mid-Atlantic Lieutenancy, the Exterior Order, when they wanted to help, really this is to be named after him because he is very much passionate about education, especially education to be provided here in the Holy Land, especially in Palestine, is to make that dream come true, that quality education to the most needy ones. This is because of big support that we get from the Mid-Atlantic Lieutenancy, because of the passion of John Patrick Cardinal Foley for education for Bethlehem University, we named it after him.
And as you mentioned, the building was funded entirely from Christians outside of Palestine. I'm wondering if you can once again, quickly tell us about the significance of that and what it means to you.
For us Christian brothers and for the community here at Bethlehem University, this is a support that encourages us to continue our mission here. As you know, this place is not the best in a way because of the situation around here, but to stay here and give the best service to the people, we need that kind of support. That's support from the Vatican, that's support from Christians, because Bethlehem University is the first Catholic university in the Holy Land. And then the presence of Bethlehem University in the Holy Land is significant because, as you know, for a region where only 2% is Christian, the presence of Catholic Bethlehem University in Bethlehem or in Palestine and in the Holy Land at large is very symbolic. It helps the Christians to pursue their education, to have hope. At the same time, learning with Muslims and other faith believers, that is also a witness that goes beyond tolerance, that goes into even being hospitable to one another. So that is how important it is when Christians support this mission.
Oh, Brother Belayneh, thank you so much for your time today and sharing all of that with us. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.